Okay, I think I've got most everybody in, and I want to welcome everybody and let you know that today the commissioner regrets that he cannot make this meeting. He's really valued his time with the wastewater sector during this pandemic and unfortunately has a conflict. So asked me to step in and hear from all of you and share what we have. So I want to let folks know that this call is being recorded, and I'm joined by several key people from MassDEP, including Leldon Langley, Mary Beth Chubb, John Murphy, Susie King, and several people from the regional offices of MassDEP. We're glad to be joined by our partner, EPA. EPA has been an amazing partner through the whole pandemic in providing information about trainings and opportunities and the latest guidance from the federal government. So it's great to see you this morning, Denny. Welcome.
Thank you, Kathy. I appreciate it. So the update I have for today has to do with the contract for wastewater testing for COVID-19. So the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services received a great deal of money and is now contracting with BioBot to collect wastewater data on COVID-19 variants. And this is at no cost to the utilities who want to participate. They are still taking applicants, though they are filling up quickly. So if you're interested in participating, I'd recommend you do that as soon as possible. And I'll put the contact information in the chat. So what this involves, this is called a phase 2 study. It'll be twice weekly sampling that'll start on June 7th, and it'll go for 9 weeks. They're hoping to have 320 utilities involved that cover 100 million people. And they'd like to be in different parts of the country. The data that's collected through this effort will be shared with all of the participating utilities, and then it's also available on the HHS portal. And I can also give you information if you want to see the HHS CDC portals for the information on the data they've already collected from utilities. So I'll put a BioBot link in the chat, and that's all I have to offer today. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Denny. And thank you for sending the information ahead of time. I think John Murphy sent it out to our operators, so that, having getting the information out as many times as possible is really helpful. And we really hope that there's great representation from the Massachusetts wastewater community. John Murphy, I see you're on. Be happy to take your report on operator training and licensing and anything else you have to offer. Good morning.
Yep. Thank you, Kathy. Just a quick promotion of an upcoming training. MAWIA and WPIC putting together a joint program on a workforce development. Where will our new operators come from? Innovative approaches to building our future workforce. And that is going to be offered June 22nd. It's going to be online from 9 a.m. to 11. And it is free of cost. So good opportunity to hear about some approaches to where our new operators are coming from. And I would recommend going to the MAWIA website, mawea.org, for more information. Just briefly, next board meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, June 9th, so next week. So any applications will be processed then. And also just a reminder, we are in a renewal recertification year. So December 31st, 2021, 20 TCHs are required. A lot of opportunity available with the EPA trainings for free, as well as this upcoming MAWIA training for free. So make sure you are out there getting your training hours. That's it from the Board of Certification.
Okay, thank you, John. That's really helpful. And I see that Mickey Nowak has posted the information about the webinar, Where Will Our New Operators Come From, in the chat. So if you're looking for information, you can find it there. So appreciate your report, John. Okay, so I'll just give you a few highlights on, as you know, the governor issued an order lifting the state of emergency for the COVID pandemic effective June 15th. And so there are, a number of practices that are reverting back to former how we did things formerly. However, there are some practices that will likely continue, and one of those will be the, at least for the foreseeable future, MassDEP will be working remotely. And as we sort things out with our office space and other matters, we ultimately expect to be going back to a hybrid model. And that will likely take place beginning in the fall or in the winter, although the dates are not yet certain. But in the meantime, we're operating in the same way that we have been. Hopefully you know how to reach us all. We're certainly available by email. Most of us are giving out our cell phone numbers so that you can reach us directly. And if there's any problem getting in touch with us or reaching out to any of the programs, just let us know. Let me know, or let Lelda know, and we can find the right people for you. So no immediate changes on the MassDEP workplace front. But we think it's been working pretty well, and we're also interested in speaking with you about the future of these meetings. And so with the pandemic, the state of emergency lifting, we're interested in continuing our communication and dialogue with the wastewater sector. And would like to propose that we continue to meet, maybe less frequently, perhaps quarterly, and would like to know what you think about that. So putting that idea out there, we have offered the same to the drinking water sector too. We think we've worked really hard. You have had an amazing year, doing incredible work, keeping us all safe, keeping wastewater systems operating, the environment clean, all while your workforces were threatened by illness, your supply lines or supply chains were threatened by shortages. There was a lot of uncertainty around whether wastewater operators could contract COVID-19 from aerosolized wastewater. There was a lot of uncertainty and stress, and somehow you just rose above it all and were truly amazing. We've worked really hard to support your efforts, and we think we have a really great opportunity here to continue the dialogue. So just putting that out there. If feel free to comment now, or if you want to discuss that later on in the meeting, that's fine. So I did touch base with Mickey about this earlier, and Mickey, I don't know if you have anything you want to offer. I don't know if you're on. No. Okay. Well, anyhow, that's the offer. We were thinking as we had.
Hello, I forgot to unmute.
Oh, okay.
I was talking away and.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe I was getting the cold shoulder already.
No. In your email, you had proposed quarterly meetings, which I think is a great idea. There's probably topics that are better discussed as a group. And I think just putting out that quarterly opportunity to for everyone to get together and bring up the issues is a great idea.
Good. Okay. We're excited about it. So it will be a great opportunity to continue enhancing our understanding of what the challenges are in the wastewater community and making sure that we're clear on where we're coming from. So hopefully, you know, it will continue to be really positive. And let's see, I see that Mary Barry, you have a really great suggestion. Could we consider holding a joint clean water and drinking water meeting? It makes sense considering we are all one water. So yes, I think we could consider doing that too. Absolutely. Hi, Jen. I see you've
I was gonna respond to Mary, but I thought maybe it's just easier to unmute. And I certainly agree. You know, we are one water. I just would say that I think some of the regulatory challenges each sector is facing is quite distinct. I mean, you know, we're grappling with the MCL for PFAS and Water Management Act registration conditioning and things that may not be as much of interest to the wastewater sector. And I know you all are grappling with the CSO notification and that sort of thing, which our members might not necessarily have an interest in. So while I like the idea, I just think that there might be some distinct regulatory differences that might make it more appropriate to do separate ideas, but separate meetings. But certainly maybe we could, you know, do a combination meeting every now and again. That's
a great idea.
Yeah,
Oh, yes.
I agree. It doesn't have to be every meeting, but an occasional, it would be good for both sides to hear each other's wants and needs.
And Mary, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to raise the fact that there's many municipalities that deal with both drinking water and clean water. And we may actually broaden the tent a little bit more by having discussions around the whole water industry. Because I think that that's also going to, as much as I understand what Jen's saying about regulatory constraints and changes in regulations, I think that we need to look at it holistically as opposed to individual sectors. That's where I'm coming from. And I think the more we start to do that, the better off we're going to be as an industry.
I'm sure there's room for both the specific industry-specific regulation talk as well as more holistic approaches on water. And so, you know, what I would suggest is that we could stay in touch about agenda items and then maybe plan having either one or two of the meetings a year be those joint meetings, but or, you know, maybe invite the other sector to the, you know, invite the wastewater folks to the drinking water side for all of them and vice versa. So, you know, we can sort this out. And I'll be looking forward to working with you folks on some of the ideas on what we might be discussing.
I think it also might serve as a model for the other states as well. If we can pull this off. Yeah.
Okay, that'd be great. So hopefully, you know, they'll appreciate it. And I definitely appreciate it. I mean, it's been on a personal level, it's been really valuable for me to work closely with both the wastewater and the drinking water sides of the house and understanding their issues more. It's also helped me feel like I've established relationships. I know we're not always going to agree on things for sure. But, you know, I think we have common goals of clean wastewater, clean environments, protection of public health through successful wastewater treatment and also protection of drinking water. So, you know, ultimately our goals are the same. How we might choose to get there we might differ, but that's okay too. You know, it's good for us to be able to have the opportunity in the forum to explain things, also review trainings, any opportunities that are coming up, funding opportunities. So yeah, looking forward to it. I can review a little bit or just let you know that we are following the federal infrastructure funding. There's been very little information that's come out so far with respect to how the American Rescue Plan Act funding is going to be distributed in Massachusetts. So we know that it will, that projects will have to be state revolving fund eligible, but we really don't have any information about how the money is going to be distributed, through what mechanisms, if it will come through SRF or not. So we're still waiting to hear on that. You know, we've been also following the low-income housing or household drinking water and wastewater emergency assistance program, which the DHCD is overseeing. And I have not heard anything recently about the funding coming in, except that the agency, DHCD, is developing a plan on how that will be distributed. Those funds will go directly to the low-income ratepayer, and those folks will be identified likely through the utility, but also through records that are available at DHCD, where they also administer a low-income heating and energy assistance program. There are several other pieces of federal legislation that are have not been enacted. They do affect, or they would affect, drinking water and wastewater infrastructure funding. So we're watching those, but they, you know, nothing's happened yet on those. And I have to say, no questions came in ahead of time. So I haven't seen, I'm not sure, since I'm talking and kind of reading the chat at the same time, I'm not in the best position to keep track of all the questions here. So let me just scroll through and see if we've got any questions that are hanging out there. And no, although I do see, Mickey, you've noted PFAS is a huge issue for wastewater too. So yes. Are there any questions? Would anybody like to unmute and ask their question, or type it in the chat? I'm trying to give people enough time to type if that's what they're doing. And I see Wendy Leo from MWRA. Any update on the schedule for the draft regulations on CSO notifications? And so, great question. One thing I have to say is we've been retraining ourselves to say sewage notification, because we do recognize that the law requires notification for untreated or partially treated wastewater. But the latest news on the developing regulations is that they are being finalized by the program and are getting ready for review through the through the agency review process. We think that later this summer they'll be out for public comment. And as most people on the call know, that they are due to be promulgated by January of 2020. The whole program needs to be up and running by July 2020. We're working really hard, though, to try to get the regulations promulgated earlier than January, so that we have more time to work with the regulated community in terms of planning for their notification systems. How might they detect an overflow or a discharge? So we're hoping that will give us all a little bit more breathing room in terms of implementing successfully in July. So once the regulations are out on the street, we'll definitely let folks know. We'll be looking for your comments. And then the things that we'll be working on after or in tandem. So the regulations will be moving along, and then we'll be developing guidance on and public notification plans that helps the discharger discover that there's been an activation or a discharge, and then describes how they'll notify the public. We'll also be working with the regulated community on expectations for information delivery to the public, to DEP, to other, to the municipality, to the local board of health. So we'll be working on that. We also have, I should mention, the students at Worcester Polytech are helping us with a communications plan. So they're targeting the environmental justice communities, and in particular in the CSO service areas. So not every entity that has a discharge permit will be affected by this law, but those that have combined sewers, we're looking at special attention with respect to communication around English isolation, the types of media that environmental justice populations prefer, how to effectively get the message out. So we're looking forward to their recommendations and implementing them. We think having students involved will help DEP come up to hopefully the 21st century in terms of social media and best mechanisms for outreach. So that's the long-winded update. I don't know, Leldon, if you would like to say anything. Leldon, Langley, and a whole team of folks in the wastewater groups at MassDEP have been working hard on this, and Leldon's been really doing a great job leading the effort.
Kathy, just a couple of things. I wanted to clarify the dates that you gave for those milestones. I think the COVID time warp got you when you said the date. So that was.
Oh, sorry.
I know it all runs together. So we are anticipating that we'll start to circulate a draft this summer in 2021, as you said. Those operative dates for promulgation in the statute are January of 2022, and then final promulgation of, or implementation rather, of all the statutory requirements by July of 2022. And then also in the chat, Mickey Nowak asks, will there be another sewage notification stakeholder meeting? So I was wondering if you wanted to share any thoughts about, how to keep the stakeholder groups involved in that.
Yeah, I think we do expect that we will be working closely with the stakeholder groups again. We've been quiet while we've been moving ahead on the regulation side, trying to get that going, because that's actually a very lengthy process with lots of timelines built into our regulations on how to promulgate regulations. So we're moving that ahead, but then we really have the need to touch base with the regulated entities as well as the stakeholders who were advocates for the law, to understand how best to collect information about discharges and to communicate that information. So, and my apologies for messing up dates if I got the year wrong or the month wrong. So anyhow, that's so we are expecting to come back or meet again with the stakeholders. So they're really going to be a valuable asset in this. This is a brand new program. We're starting it from scratch, and we really do need people's input on this. Any other questions?
Yeah, Kathy, also, so Jen Peterson asks, can you give an update on the status of the revisions to the surface water quality standards?
Oh, yes. Okay, those are also in final review. And so I would say they're a little bit ahead of the sewage notification regs, which are in review as a draft. So the surface water quality standards, we're expecting to be promulgated as final regulations later this summer. And then they need to be reviewed and accepted by the federal government, by EPA, in order for them to become effective. So we are looking forward to that happening soon.
And Kathy, I believe that comment period on the final is still open until, I want to say July 15th, is it thereabouts? Is that your recollection?
That's right. I think we extended it. We gave it a 45-day.
That's correct.
Yeah. So if in coming out in the summer, it would be later in the summer, because that's the middle of, that's not the middle, but by the time we get through the comments and then address any comments and then move it through our review process again, it will be later in the summer, but fingers crossed it will be summer. Any other questions?
I'm sorry, could I ask a follow-up on that? Leldon, you just said that they're open for public comment. Weren't they already out for public comment quite a while ago? Or am I missing something?
Sorry, Jen. Kathy, did I confuse the IR with the
yeah, I think
that's right. You did.
Yeah,
sorry. Okay.
Right.
Okay, so the integrated waters list is out until June or July. Okay.
Thanks for the clarification, Jen. That's what I was thinking. It was the IR, the integrated waters list. So yeah, so the promulgation, as Kathy said, though, will occur probably later in the summer. We're working out, a bunch of the final details, of how that promulgation process works.
Thank you.
Anybody else here with questions?
I would just like to make a comment on that sewage notification bill. Well, you're before you're putting out the draft regulations, and that is on the rain event we had this past weekend, where we had significant precipitation on Friday and then again on Sunday, especially on Sunday. I think that when you have those type of events, it brings to mind how complex this notification bill is going to be, where you have to make your initial notifications and then you have to make your follow-up notifications, because those were very long rain events. And it just brings to mind how much manpower is going to be expended, searching through the data to make these reports and make them accurately. I think that's what most people are concerned about with the 2-hour limit, that there's some accuracy to the information, because once it gets out there, it's out there. And I think that's one of everyone's major concerns, is putting out accurate information, or the fear of putting out inaccurate information.
And we've heard that concern, Mickey. So we definitely appreciate it. And I would say that Leldon and the team that's been working on it has been seriously considering how to help the dischargers effectively get, notify as required by the law, but also do it in a way that hopefully minimizes the impact to your workforces. It's not going to, obviously won't minimize it completely. And also, looking for ways to possibly update information later on, so that, there would be an understanding that an initial reporting you may not have the opportunity to check your models or, do any field verification that you might need to do while you're also sort of manning the station during a huge CSO event. So yeah, we'll be looking forward to your input, particularly on the plans that will be we'll be looking for discharges to develop. Anybody else? Oh, thank you, Wendy, for putting in the integrated report comment period and link. Appreciate that. Okay, I don't see anything else. So I just want to say MassDEP and the commissioner in particular is very grateful for all the work you've done during the pandemic to keep the Commonwealth safe and clean. Really, you did an extraordinary job with often limited staff, limited resources, limited PPE, you know, uncertain times, and we truly appreciate everything that folks on this call and all of your colleagues did to keep us going through the pandemic. So very grateful. The commissioner wishes that he could have said that himself to you, but I know he is very grateful. And so we'll look forward to meeting again in September. And feel free to send your suggestions for a meeting agenda. You know, we can certainly touch on COVID and what the latest is and whether you're seeing any supply chain interruptions, for example. But, you know, feel free to offer up ideas for other items. So thanks very much, everybody. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks, MassDEP. It was a great idea to have these calls.
And thank you.